Hi, and welcome to ThePrint. I'm Karanjeet Kaur, and I'm a journalist and an editor. Today I'll be reading excerpts from my column on the recent lynching in Punjab after the Guru Granth Sahib was desecrated. A harrowing video from Bandala, a small village in Punjab's Firozpur district, captures a distressing scene. A young man, bloodied and struggling to hold up his head, surrounded by Granthis and Sevadars. He is accused of tearing pages or angs from the Guru Granth Sahib. Despite the young man's evident injuries, it is clear from the video that no immediate medical attention was provided to him. It later emerges that the man, who succumbed to his injuries, suffered from mental health issues. Now, Bandala joins a notorious list of places in Punjab that has followed a grimly familiar script. An alleged act of Beadbi, or desecration of the Guru Granth Sahib, leads to the swift capture of the accused by a crowd, followed by a lynching. Mob justice is dispensed before due process has a chance to intervene. Often, those accused of these crimes turn out to be either mentally unsound or undergoing depressive or schizophrenic episodes. In some cases, those accused of the killing are even honored by the Gurudwara. Now, as a person born into the Sikh faith, these extrajudicial killings are extremely difficult to reconcile with the philosophy I was raised with. I'm no expert, but the precepts of Sikhism, as I understand them, center around equality, compassion, justice, empathy, and community service. The violent reactionary behavior on display in these incidents is a complete departure from Sikh philosophy. For instance, one of the foundational prayers of Sikhism is the Mool Mantar, which encapsulates the nucleus of Sikh thought. According to the prayer, Ik Omkar, which is variously defined as the ultimate reality or the supreme being, is Nirbhav and Nirvair, which is without fear and without hatred, enmity, or malice. Sadly, while God might be without fear and rancor, his or her followers often seem to make up for it. Still, it's instructive to understand that the bitter harvest of vigilante justice stems from seeds of discontent. It registers a genuine shock at the acts of desecration and a profound disillusionment with the legal system. And a perceived leniency towards offenders has completely eroded public trust. For the Sikh community, the Guru Granth Sahib is much more than a holy text. Unlike the Bhagavad Gita or the Bible, it is considered the embodiment of a living guru. And it is no different in status to the 10 gurus that preceded it. An attack on the Guru Granth Sahib, therefore, is treated just like an attack on the body of the Guru himself. The recent desecration of the Guru Granth Sahib is only the latest in a series of incidents that began around 2015. The theft of the Guru Granth Sahib that same year from Jawahar Singh Sarkar village in Faridkot and the discovery of torn pages in 2018 in Amritsar led to massive protests all over Punjab. That episode seemed to open the floodgates, and every other district in Punjab can now be name-checked. In December 2021, 2 severe attempts at sacrilege were reported. One at the Golden Temple in Amritsar, where a man attempted to desecrate the Guru Granth Sahib and was subsequently beaten to death, and another where a man allegedly tried to desecrate the Nishan Sahib at a Gurudwara in Kapurthala and met a similar fate. In October 2021, Lakhbir Singh, a 35-year-old Dalit Sikh man from Tarantaran, was brutally lynched during the farmers' agitation at the Singhu border. He was accused of desecrating the Sarb Lo Granth. In May 2023, a middle-aged salon worker named Kulwinder Kaur was shot dead for reportedly consuming alcohol within the precincts of Gurdwara Dukh Nivaran Sahib in Patiala. A few days prior in Rajpura, a disoriented young man named Sahil was beaten for wearing his shoes and not covering his head inside the premises of a Gurdwara. The list goes on, but according to various estimates, the number of sacrilege cases hovers between 100 and 250. Following the recent incident in Bandala, the SGPC issued a statement condemning the desecration but remains silent on the young man's killing. The body's official stance is, and I quote, "The police administration and the government have completely failed to stop such incidents. They frame them as part of a larger conspiracy." The SGPC attributes the community's anger and resentment to the government and police's inability to deliver strict and exemplary punishment to the culprits of sacrilege. I reached out to Harjeshwar Pal Singh, who teaches history at Sri Guru Gobind Singh College in Chandigarh, to understand this phenomenon a little better. He told me, before 2015, we'd never even heard about such incidents of sacrilege. When these things gather the media's attention, it leads to copycat cases. In some ways, what was once considered extreme blasphemy seems to have become routine simply by being in the public eye. None of this justifies the actual killings, but it does help contextualize events. Given the frequency of these offenses over the last decade, it is very tough not to view them as a pattern of targeted attacks on Sikh sentiments. At the very least, it is a reflection of institutional failures. Daljit Singh Sra, who is the former chief sub-editor of Punjabi Tribune, says that there is now a perception that even when such incidents happen, there will be no justice. He told me, "The state might be sincere, but this is the pervasive sentiment, and the credibility of the state is now on the line." Mr. Sra is of the opinion that people now fear for their identity. When the Sikh community witnesses that culprits in such big incidents, like in Badgari, have not been punished, even small incidents feel like too much, and they tend to overreact. If nothing else, this highlights an urgent need among the Sikh community to engage in critical dialogue, as it reveals a stark dichotomy within the community. On one hand, are a selfless people who embody the spirit of seva and are among the first to assist in crises worldwide. On the other hand, are those who take the law into their own hands, resorting to killing when their religious sentiments are perceived to be attacked. Even as the desecration remains an emotive issue, lynching the accused is not something ordinary Sikhs I know can make peace with. The prevailing sentiment remains that the offenders be punished according to the law, and that the lynchings are the handiwork of individuals with kattar soch or fundamentalist mindsets. Meanwhile, the inconsistent application of the law fosters an environment that is ripe for conspiracy theories. Deras around Punjab and Haryana, for instance, particularly Dera Sacha Sauda, run by Gurmeet Ram Rahim, whose followers were accused in the 2015 case, are viewed with intense suspicion. But there's little to suggest that the Deras would orchestrate plans to provoke the Sikh community like this. For one, many Dera followers happen to be Gurdwara-going practicing Sikhs. Besides, despite their massive followership, Dera followers actually remain a minority within the larger Sikh fold. Now, there are also some murmurs that the lynchings of Muslims in other parts of India on summary suspicions of eating beef or transporting cows for slaughter might have emboldened those in Punjab. Mr. Sra dismisses that thought. There is no communal angle to this, he told me, because the people accused of doing Beadbi are often Sikhs themselves. Punjab has witnessed so much struggle, but outside of the violence during the partition, Punjab has never actually been communal. There are other, more unfortunate reasons behind the community's heightened sensitivity, and why an attack on Sikh sacred spaces feels like an attack on Sikh identity itself. Punjab, and indeed Sikhs all over the world, remember the events of 1984, when an assault on Harmandir Sahib was quite literally an assault on the Sikh body politic. We are less than a week away from the 40th anniversary of Operation Blue Star, when the Indian Army stormed the Golden Temple and left hundreds dead and deeply wounded the Sikh spirit. The title of the Guernica magazine essay, 10,000 Pairs of Shoes, which was written by lawyer and author Malika Kaur, is a reference to the number of people who never returned to claim their footwear after June 1984. She writes, "The army's burning of the Sikh reference library after the June firefight is held as an attack on Sikh psyche. The centuries-old primary source documents that were housed in the building where no firefight ever took place remain shrouded in mystery even today. Since June 1984, Sikhs have claimed, and a 2004 Indian government revelation even quietly acknowledged, that the materials were taken by the forces and not destroyed, but also not returned as a marker of humiliation and attempt at erasure of heritage." Later in 1984, a brutal massacre followed in the wake of the assassination of Indira Gandhi, killing thousands of Sikhs across India. Can you really blame a community that bears the scars of trauma inflicted by recent history for being hyper-vigilant about their identity? Then again, shouldn't a community that has witnessed so much violence abstain from it? Lynchings can never be the answer to these acts of desecration because they play directly into the hands of whatever forces are supposedly conspiring to carry out these acts. And it only serves to perpetuate a cycle of violence which stands in stark contrast to Sikh values. Those who defend the killings would do well to go back to the Guru Granth Sahib, which reminds us that the Guru's words remain eternal. "Gur ka bachan base jiya nale, jal nahi doobe, taskar nahi leve, paye na sakke jale." The English translation is, "The Guru's word abides with my soul. It does not sink in water, thieves cannot steal it, and fire cannot burn it." It's not merely the physical form of the Guru Granth Sahib that needs the Sikh community's concern. Our attentions are better spent upholding and embodying the values enshrined in its teachings, both in thought and in action.